Alright guys, so we're on to the next part of our Volkswagen Beetle air compressor build. And in this part, we're going to go ahead and try and get this transmission modified and the frame built for it. So, and when I say modified, that's a kind of a generous word for what we're about to do this transmission. So all we need to do is harvest the front of this off for the bell housing and the mount for the starter. So the ideal thing to do would be to find a transmission from an older swing axle, because they had a removable bell housing. I did not find one of those very affordably, so I picked up this transmission for only $100. I don't know what the internals are like. I'm going to try and save some of the internals because I do have a Volkswagen Beetle that I'm building, but as it stands right now, I just want to get it apart and hack that off. So I think the easiest way to do that's going to be to remove this plate here, pull out those gears or whatever's in the way, try and figure out what else I need to do to take off the front up here, save all these parts, but then hopefully just hack it off right here, and whatever internals are up here, just let them be, and we'll put them in storage in case we ever need them for our other Beetle. So, alright, I'm going to go ahead and get to this, and you can see what I end up getting into. Alright guys, well it looks like the best solution all along would have been to just use the circular saw. That seems to cut through this pretty easily. So, not gonna lie, I kind of feel like I just committed a murder butchering this up so bad. But, oh well, we're gonna take that case, we'll throw it off to the side. I think I did nick some of the gears when I was cutting some things though, so I don't know how good they would really be, but at least we have some stuff on the other side. So, but at the end of the day, the only reason I bought this transmission was just for this piece right here, so I'd have a way to mount the starter and to help hold the engine in place. So we got what we wanted. So alrighty, onto the frame. Alright guys, so our next step is to go ahead and get this flywheel put on. There's a little spacer ring right here, which I already put on. It's I guess it's a shim of sorts. So we throw that on there. Then we gotta go ahead and throw this seal in, which I'm not sure the best way to get that in. Hopefully, I think it should just push right in. That's how it came out. Now to put this in, we have these 4 little dowel pins in here. So we just line them up right on in here. Now the torque spec for this is ridiculously high. It's like 247 foot-pounds or something like that, which I do not have the means of getting up to. So we're just going to go ahead and hit this with the impact. Thankfully, this is in a fairly low stress zone, so not going to be able to get up to, or knowing the exact torque hopefully won't be quite as detrimental, but we do want to get it up there pretty good. So now that that's on there, we can go ahead and get our, put our new bell housing, hold on, excuse me, got the hiccups. So, here we have our very beautifully modified bell housing. We can try and get this on. It appears these bolts might have gotten a little bit bent. I'm holding our engine up. Alright, so I had to bend that bolt back a little bit. That's a good lesson for when I redo my other Beetle engine. Do not hang the bolts that way. I guess I'll have to figure out a better way to mount that from now on. So, anyhow, go ahead, throw this on here. Alright guys, so now that we have this all together, we're going to start trying to fab up a frame for this. So I think this is about how it's going to sit. I decided not to use the big 20-gallon tank for my fuel tank. I'm going to use that little tank over there, the boat tank. And so what I'm going to fab up is this, sitting like this. This is going to be down here. This is going to be the drain to drain out the water. These are going to be our inlets, and then this is going to be our outlet. So we're going to plumb them up, so it'll come up and around into here, and the same thing with that one over to here. I've got those fittings on order, and they'll hopefully be in soon. So I got these put on so I can try and make a little triangular mount right here. So it's going to attach here, and another bar is going to sit along the bottom just for the engine to sit flat on. That's what they tell you to do. And then there will be a separate spot mounted right here for this. So this is going to be all one frame. And then we'll build a little platform above here, which is where our fuel tank's going to go. And then I'm not sure where yet we're going to mount the battery. If I can slide that fuel tank over this way far enough, maybe I'll mount the fuel tank here, the battery here, and then maybe a little control panel somewhere up here. But we're going to mess around with that as we get along. So the first step that we're going to do is, now that we have this laid out and we have our measurements, we're going to build the base. So I've got it kind of cut right here. I got it 2 feet 10 inches long, and it's going to be about 2 feet 9 inches wide. And then so we're going to weld up this base, and then we're going to go ahead and get these the shoes mounted on it, or wheels, and that way I'll be able to kind of maybe place this on top of that frame and get an idea of where I want things to set. Because after we get that on there, my next step is I want to go ahead and fab up the mount for this transmission, get the engine bolted in place, and then we'll worry about trying to figure out what we want to do with this. So, alrighty, well, I'm going to get to welding that up, and I'll show you after that. Alright guys, so we're making some progress here. I ended up realizing that those transmission mounts weren't going to really work for me, so my solution is I do have to take the remove the engine from the transmission whenever we want to take it off. Not as convenient, but it is what it is. So I went ahead and I made this mount up. That's going to go from, that holds the transmission here. And then, so what we're getting ready to do now is a buddy's coming over to help me. We're going to lift the engine up, and then this is going to sit in between in here for our transmission mount. I wanted to put the engine on top first to weld it in. That way I know that it's going to be at the exact right level and it'll all line up. So then once we get that on, then we can go ahead and get to find a way to attach our barrel and start going from there.
All right, guys, we got her all fabbed up now. So the next step we're going to do is we're going to have to wire this whole thing. I think I'd like to get a battery box to hide this, but for the time being, just while we're doing our test runs, that'll be good. I think I'm going to drill and do some more rivet nuts through here to mount this generator right here. I'm sorry, the voltage regulator. I think it's going to be easier to try and just run those wires from there to there than to try and do all that hokiness. We're going to use this as our control panel. So that way we can put our, one day a tachometer here, an oil pressure light, a charging light, our push start, and probably our on-off switch. So that'll be that. We're just going to put ratchet straps to hold this down and hold this down, one for each. It's nothing fancy, but it's the budget way that I can do this for right now. So, and then what our order of operations are going to be is we're going to get this all wired, and then we're going to do our test run. And then once that passes and I make sure that we're getting air through these ports, then we'll go ahead and plumb it up. So hopefully the next video is going to be wiring it up, test fire, and then plumbing. And then hopefully after that, we're just going to start sandblasting, but we'll see what happens. So I'll catch you guys for the next video. Thanks for tuning in.